Hi, I am making this video regarding a topic that's very interesting to me, and I might be the beneficiary of the new developments that might come along. This has to do with tissue regeneration, human cloning, in vitro production of proteins or muscle tissue, and some related subjects like bringing back extinct animals and plants, and animal cloning. Anyhow, the reason I'm very interested in this area is because I have lost my left eye due to diabetes. It had to go through many surgeries, and also it got infected, and it's dead now. I'm wearing what you call a glass eye. Also, I had infection in my foot and in my toes. I've gotten rid of the infection, and I'm doing almost everything humanly possible to prevent it from coming back, but I lost the toe, another toe, my big toe. I have lost half of it. So I am missing tissue or parts of my body that were damaged, or I know the technology to generate new tissue is here, and stem cells are available in some settings, in research settings. What I would like to do, and if you are watching this video, please email me if you know a doctor or a specialist that does work in this area, of either bionic eyes or tissue regeneration for eye and toes. This research might be still in the cutting edge, but you never know. And I'm also interested in becoming the guinea pig for tissue regeneration. If the technology is there and somebody can do it, that would be fantastic. I am also interested in eye transplant. I know the success rate has been very slim, and it's a thin hope, but hey, I'm open to therapies of any kind, whether it's a stem research or tissue regeneration or eye replacement, or bionic eyes. Right now, the only two bionic systems that are functional and people use it, one is called Argus 2, and it replaces the retina with some electronics. I don't know how it works, but basically you have to have an intact eye, not too much extensive damage. Like my eye has a lot of damage to it, and the eye has basically died. And so I couldn't use Argus 2, and the only other system is a system made by Monash Vision Group, which is they implant a chip in the brain, and the chip communicates in a Wi-Fi manner with the camera that's in front of the eye somehow, or a bionic eye that's implanted in the front of the eye. Either way, that the system is also very primitive, because it's only got 100 pixels, and people who are very desperate, that have been blind forever, they really qualify for that. But I have a functioning eye, and basically I'm functional and I can get around, but it would be nice to get both my visions. And also, I don't have depth perception, because you need both eyes to be able to see the depth of things. And I was working for a taxi company, and all the time I would back the taxi, smash up the bumper of the car, Anyhow, my boss, he had become experts in replacing bumpers. It only cost $100. I don't know how many bumpers I've gone through. It's a big problem. But later on, I bought another car, and the bumper was already messed up. So I knew how to replace the bumper. But there are other issues that you need depth perception, and I have trouble with the DMV sometimes because the people who test for these things, they don't understand. Hey, this guy, he doesn't have depth perception. Why is he driving like a grandma? I mean, he looks young enough. He should be like speeding to the freeway speed. But even though I don't look disabled, but I am disabled, and I am personally very conscious of my disability, and it does affect to some degree my driving. I drive like very cautiously. Anyhow, the other technology I'm interested in is tissue regeneration. Uh, I don't know if this is even possible to regenerate the toe and put it back, or half a toe. It feels like sci-fi, but I'm sure there is a doctor somewhere out there that's working on these projects, and I would like to show interest and volunteer as a guinea pig for these therapies. The, these technologies are very valuable, and there are a lot of people who have these problems, especially tissue regeneration and taking your own cells and growing them and replacing damaged parts. That's a beautiful technology. I wish I had access to some of it. I wish that this group, Monash Vision Group, came up with the bionic eye with like million pixels, not just like 100. I could get this system. Who knows? Maybe 5 years, 10 years. My doctor, and also there is another specialist that helps me with another ophthalmologist that helps me. He's very pessimistic in the progress of bionic eyes, and he said that these take decades to perfect. But with all the money that we blow away at wars and keeping the stock market up, I mean, the kinds of budgets these people have, like Monash Vision Group was talking about, like $3 million research money. It's just nothing. Thousands of people are blind, and $3 million is not even a drop in the bucket. Their budget should be like $1 billion or $3 billion. I don't know how these people think, how institutions think when they allocate money for research. They're crazy. Well, the only good research that usually comes out of DARPA, and this institution is so dedicated to criminal warfare and helping the U.S. government just overwhelm any foreign government and any foreign enterprise with the devices that are just out of this world. But they have done some good things too, like Google Car or self-driving cars or drones that are automated, but their thinking is so fascist, and the government gives them so much money. They probably have devices and things that are buried somewhere in their labs that you never imagine. They suck, but they are they remind me of the fascists in the last days of the Nazi Germany. That they would their scientists would develop these outrageous technologies, jet engines, and they knew how to make nuclear bombs too. but the world will let them. Uh, who knows what DARPA has in their little labs. I think that the Russians are developing technologies that do better than the DARPA. I heard that they have um, technologies that can wreck electronics, like what they call those things, IMP bombs that completely burn all electronics. But and they have better air force and better technology in the fighter jets. So I don't know if there is a lag time between what the U.S. is doing to bring the technology into the field. Uh, well, there is a concept of that was developed by a physicist. His name was Pauli, and he had a principle that they call in quantum physics Pauli exclusion principle. That means that if you have electrons or protons or neutrons confined to an area, like inside the nucleus of the atom, or in a orbit around the atom, like electrons, the Pauli exclusion principle says that they cannot be in each other's state, which means they cannot occupy the same space. They have repulsion between them, electromagnetic or other forms of repulsion, and basically this principle is pretty useless until you consider photons, and the photons they don't have mass and they don't fall under the Pauli exclusion principle. That means that say you have a narrow band of laser beam, and you can superimpose as many photons, I mean as many energetic photons that you want in this little band. So in principle, in theory, you can have a nuclear power plant, convert all the energy and make photons, energetic photons, and put them all in this little band. And the future weapons would be like stations with laser guns with very accurate CCD searching the sky for intruding drones or intruding fighter planes. So I mean, even though the Russians have better fighter jets, the future could be in such a way that all this stuff becomes useless, because you basically the militaries will have access to such devices that it's just with the use of lasers you can just knock out anything on the sky, or you could put these on the satellites and knock out anything on the ground. And the good thing about laser weapons is that if you have a good power source, you can send out like billions of sharp laser signals or burst and destroy. Even if you don't have a good CCD camera or a telescope to zoom on a given target, you can send a billion, and one of them will hit and ruin the target. So this is the future of military advancement, and it shows that many countries, they can retain their sovereignty regardless of the technological advancement at our point. The other thing about technology is that when a new development comes along, it overwhelms previous developments by leaps and bounds. Like the system I described to you, it just makes everything else totally useless. The same goes with the cell phone technology. It makes copper wires completely useless. You can send anything through the air. But this is another discussion. And in this video, I want to note that human cloning technologies are possible now, and this technology is here, but there is a cultural resistance to it. And I had another son with my ex-wife, and she aborted him. And I often wonder how things would have been if my other son would have grown up. Uh, but I don't see any moral complications with human cloning. I think it's totally okay. If some of the fetuses have to be destroyed because they are not going to grow up to be functional human beings, that's fine. That's the price you have to pay. And the other benefit would be that if you had someone that you cared deeply for, or a mate, or a pet, or this can go on. The list can go on to farm animals, whatever. That's is a prized possession. So you value this species or this individual in some form or manner. There is nothing wrong with replicating this person or this cow or this tissue, or if the technology is there, the moral complications are not very many, and we should use these technologies. The other benefit of the tissue regeneration is to regenerate food, and I don't know if you have had experience dealing with pigs or chickens, and I will tell you that these two animals that we eat all the time are some of the most disgusting. They eat anything, and chickens especially are worse than pigs. They eat any food and anything that becomes their way, including the feces of themselves and the other chickens. So the technology to regenerate chicken meat by like some type of in vitro, or if we could regenerate their proteins in piecemeal or in bulk, or in different forms. It's totally okay to go that route, and this is very healthy too, because we could control the amount, the speed, cut down on bacteria and other crap. Basically, technologically, we are at a place where we can do all these things. We don't need these farm animals the way we have been using them as food. There is too many complications with their use, and there could be other uses for them, who knows. Also, we are able to make amino acids, which is what happens when the food is broken down in human stomach. So if we can make amino acids that we need, we should make them in bulk and use them in bulk or in combination, and cut back on dependence on these animals and all the complications and diseases that comes from there. The other benefit of cloning is the cloning of extinct animals and plants. Who knows what benefits these would bring. I use a lot of different herbs, and I tell you, they're just like medicine, and each one of them does something exotic. When a guy or a woman gets older, the body stops producing many of the proteins, but the plants, these proteins exist in plenty, or they are proteins that are very similar to what the human body does, and I just don't see any reason why we shouldn't replicate these proteins or use them as from the herbs or the plants, or even look in old temples or in old deposits for different plants or seeds and replicate them. The list goes on to bacteria or anything that could be of use as medicine. Or there's nothing wrong with replicating them. Well, I'm not saying let's replicate all the dinosaurs, but maybe we should. Some of them, there would be entertainment, but not too many. Well, who knows what other animals we can find that are great food source, or they do great things as entertainment. Or, hey, this field is beautiful, and technology to do this is not as troublesome to get as you might think. Well, except the technology to put the old genes back together. You need really heavy-duty computers and algorithms to replicate and put these big molecules that have broken down back together again. But that's something that will come in due course. The other issue is that many countries that are becoming very wealthy or have been wealthy and industrialized, like Germany and Japan. And what happens usually in these societies, as people become wealthy and well-to-do, they really do not want too many kids. For example, in Germany has the lowest reproduction rate, 1.1 human being for every 2 human beings that have passed away. So basically in 30 years or 40 years, their population will become half, or the same goes for Japan. And many of these places, they reluctantly accept foreigners that look a little bit similar to Germans. But hey, if you had a choice and you could clone Germans or Japanese that you like better in your own country, or why shouldn't you do that? Why shouldn't I replicate my son? Raising him was a beautiful experience, or my own self. I would like to see renewed lease on life. I mean, well, I don't see the moral complications in any of this. In fact, in every society, the people that live there, like the Germans or the Iranians or whoever, or me, we have the political power. We are the owners. We are the ones who write the laws. So I'm gonna write the laws the way it makes me happy. Okay. In an area that hasn't been dealt with by Christianity or anybody else. It's an open field, so why shouldn't I write it the way I want it? The other thing is the creation of super humans. Well, I have like IQ of 153, and wouldn't it be better if I could tweak my offsprings to have IQs of 200? Wouldn't it be better to have a future generations that are extremely bright and athletic, and they don't have diabetes or all this crap that I have, or their hair grows naturally and doesn't fall off when they are in their 30s? What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing moral. There's no moral decisions to be made here. Morality comes into place when a given individual takes the rights of other existing individuals away, or steals from them, or kills them. That's the moral code. How you can take moral code and apply to something that's an open field? It doesn't make any sense to me. Anyhow, any doctor or anybody who is a specialist and would like to use me in their experiments for tissue regeneration or bionic eye, let me give you my phone number here, 949-244-2396. I live in Orange County, California, and I am very receptive to these ideas. Thank you very much for being in my YouTube video.